workshop here in the Costa Blanca, Spain. For today's project I thought I'd make a yarn bowl. I've made a couple of them in the past. But I've never videoed one, so I thought, why not? Hand knitting has been a popular pastime for generations, and a yarn bowl is quite a useful piece of equipment to go with the knitting. It stops the wool from rolling around the floor and being chased by family pets, etc. My lathe is only a small lathe, so it tends to use the full range of maximum size for bowl. So let's take a look at the lathe, and the piece of wood I've got is a piece of pine which came from a local wood yard. So we'll see how we go. Let's have a look. As you can see, the lathe has a maximum 10-inch swing on it, and the actual piece that I've got there at the moment, it was larger than that. I've trimmed it all down. The piece I've got is it was around about 10 inches in size and maximum length. I've trimmed it down so that it's now at least swinging on the lathe. The only other thing with the lathe is it's only 370 watt motor, which isn't really very strong, and it does take a little bit of spinning to get it going, but I've done stuff this size before, and I'm hoping that this one won't break any parts of my lathe. Right, for this I'm using a 3/8 bowl gouge as the biggest one I've got. Could probably do with it being a little bit larger. I've got the tailstock up for a bit of extra support on a revolving centre, and we're on the lowest speed going, so it's going to vibrate a bit at first until we get it in some sort of round shape. A couple of cracks forming here. Might have to put a bit of super glue in there just to make sure it doesn't go any further. The wood is slightly damp here too, where it's showing on the end grain here. It is showing quite a lot of dampness, so I don't know if it's going to crack even worse once I leave it overnight. Anyway, press on. Right, well that's interesting. I've just decided that I could do a better finishing cut by putting the speed up a bit. I'll put the speed up, and as you can see on the end grain areas, it's quite wet, and I'm actually getting sprayed with water as I'm turning here. So hopefully that may be a better way of, a good way of drying out the wood even quicker than it would do if they had heat on it. By actually spinning out the centrifugal force, taking the moisture out. But Right, bit of sanding sealer on there now, just to give all the end grain a chance. Good coat of that, possibly two. And then we can finish the sanding process off with some Yorkshire grit and start to apply some waxes. I'll burnish this with a handful of shave-ins, as I don't have any weed racks. Done the trick with that. How about a Yorkshire grit? It's got a decent finish to it now, still a little end grain roughness there, but that's probably because of the dampness that was in the wood. I don't think I'll be able to get rid of that until it dries. So we'll carry on with putting a bit of Woodbucks 22 on there. Finish that end. Now we turn the piece round, load it into a chuck and finish off the second side. Right, that's the piece turned round, the speed turned up and all looking okay, so faceplate's taken off. I did break one screw in there, so I'm hoping that I can get around that without damaging my tools. Get to that when we'll deal with that when we come to it. The finish on there isn't brilliant, but as I say, there is a certain amount of damp in the wood still, so that's probably still coming out. What I will do is, once I've finished turning the inside, is give it another bit of a application of polish, and eventually add some microcrystalline wax, which will give it more resilience to being finger marked. Just marking a line where those screw holes are. Now I can see the broken screw, it's in this one here. And if I mark a line around there, so that I don't go any further than that with the tool when I'm starting to hollow it out, should manage to get that out without damaging my tools. Just marked further marks to show where the broken screw is in there. If I can take that down there and down there on the inside and outside, I should be able to break off that small piece of wood without damaging any of the tools and without damaging the workpiece at all. Here's the offending piece. Don't think I've damaged the tool at all. Soon find out. now we come to the part where all of our work so far can just go down the pan. We've got to cut the lettuce number 6 shaped slot in there, which is where the knitter would put the yarn down. It would curve round and hold in the top end of it to stop it as they were knitting and feed out from the ball, which would be rolling around in the centre here. So I'm going to mark it out. I've drawn something that I'm going to try and transfer to this. The other thing I need to do is find a good way of holding this steady while I do the cutting. There's my shape. Just going to attempt to transfer that in pencil to the bowl, and then we'll try and find some way of clamping this down so that I can hold it firm enough to be able to do the cutting. That's given me a fairly good guide as to where I want everything to be. The main thing is to make sure that where the yarn comes through, it is above the above the line that would prevent it tugging back out, so it's got plenty of room down here, and that there's not too much, it's not too weak in the wood to make sure that it doesn't get snapped off if it gets knocked. I think we've got that somewhere near it, and maybe a little more of a yoke coming into it, like that. I've decided the only way I can hold this is in the chuck where I turned it, so first thing to do is to drill the hole to give you a bit of a guide as to where the rest of it's going to come. Somewhere near centre. And then some saw cuts to take that line down there and that line down there, and then we'll start to drill some smaller holes in this area around here to get rid of some of the meat, ready for starting to file it out. Tenon saw is not the best tool to use, but it's all I've got. That's taken out the angled section, the entry for the yarn. I've drilled some holes around here. Hopefully I should be able to rotary file these out to remove this meat here, to end up with my shaped sort of number 6 type of shape. Starting to get there with some sort of shaping. Rotary file seems to be doing the job, so I'll come back when it's a little bit nearer being finished. Bit of hand filing now with a rat tail rasp to try and break through some of the areas between the drilled holes. Then we can use the rotary file for finishing off, I think. There's some nice smooth edges on the corners here. This is how I've done previous ones. They haven't come out too bad, so I'm quite pleased with that. Just a lot of very arm aching work. this part, I've left this part joined onto the main part to the last moment, because once you've weakened this, it's easier to snap it off there. So with all the movement going on here, taking the meat off of here, it's best leaving that to last. So I'm leaving that right to the last moment. But I've completed the cutting out of the number 6 shape, the yarn hole, off camera. It's a very boring, laborious process, but the main things are, main tools I've used are a tenon saw to make the original cuts, then a drill to drill through the break through there, finally using hand rasps to start to shape it and get some curves on there, and finally with sandpaper, hand sandpapering, and then sealer, sanding sealer, and some wax. Wool is waxed anyway, so it doesn't matter if a little bit of wax gets on there. People would, after knitting something, would wash it with again the natural waxes off it. The main thing to remember is to get this part of the hole as smooth as possible, and the edges here, because as the yarn comes through you don't want it snagging on yarn. Knitting yarn would snag very easily on that. But that's basically it. I've given it a bit of a polish up afterwards. There's a few marks, not a very nice piece of wood, some blue marks in the wood itself, and I've got a few tool marks on the inside that I couldn't get rid of. So that's basically the job. Thank you for watching. If you like this, put a like on the thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, I'd appreciate anybody who wants to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.